Hey, Rob.
Hey guys, thanks very much. And Hal concurs with Rick.
It's
you
true.
were very funny
I'm in
last
complete
night.
agreement with
Yeah.
Rick about what he just said. Yeah.
And now, normally you say you don't agree with club owners, but
No. In this case, I'll
instance-
make an exception because he's really spot on. I was funny last night. I have to say, it surprised even me.
Did it surprise you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm still recovering. I was like, no way.
So
But
what?
it's true.
What do people have to look forward to for the next couple of nights? And do you just get better?
I'd like to think so. I mean,
Okay.
isn't that the goal of life? To every day somehow find a method of improvement? The nice thing is like your first night in any particular town, especially when you're on tour, is you're just kind of, feeling out what people will get, what they understand about, your vibe or what, the kind of humor you like to do. And it was great. I like it up here. I spent the better part of 5.5 years in Canada, in Toronto shooting Queer as Folk.
Yeah.
So I feel kind of like an adopted son in a lot of ways, and it's nice to be up here.
So that's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. When you finally decided that this is something you wanted to do, you decided at a very young age.
15, yeah.
I mean, that's huge to make that decision at stand-up comedy, acting.
I guess. I just didn't feel qualified for anything else, quite frankly. I mean, in all honesty, I'd grown up in Kentucky, and then I moved to Chicago. And when I was in Kentucky, I listened to comedy albums, and I was a big fan of Steve Martin and George Carlin and Godfrey Cambridge and Woody Allen's old stand-up albums and Jonathan Winters, really, And I listened to them a lot. But to me, comedians were like creatures. I didn't understand that they got paid to do a job. You know what I mean? They had a specific, I was like, I don't know how they end up making albums. They just happen.
Right.
And then when I moved to Chicago, I realized that there's a large group of people in Chicago, and like at Second City and Zanies and stuff, who turn comedy into a blue-collar job. You really work at it very hard and treat it like a skill you build. And then, as soon as I realized that could happen, I was like, well, then this is what I'm doing.
I've got this
That's
skill.
it. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do? Work at my dad's office? Forget it.
There you go.
Yeah.
When you say you work very hard at it, what do you do to try and hone this craft?
Well, I mean, it was late hours. First of all, being a comedian is a little bit like being a farmer. The more you're around it, the better you get at it. There aren't really classes for it. You just get up and do it. And at 15, I was performing at a club called the Clout Club in Chicago and at Zanies, and the owners would have to walk me through the bar area into the club so I could perform, and then out again. I had to be escorted in and out because I was too young. But at that time, I got to sit in the back of the room and watch all the other comics work in person, see them do the same jokes over a couple of times, see how they changed them each time or didn't change them, and realizing that it was a workable skill made me. And then you go home and you go, okay, what topics do I want to talk about? You start doing all the work of it, which is break it down into categories, in your writing, go, okay, this is what everybody hears about this subject, so how can I go another way?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes into stand-up as far as like the way I do it.
Right. Are you able to look at something and see the funny side in it right away, or do you have to pour over things?
No, most of the time it has to make me mad first.
Okay.
Whatever it is, I don't necessarily go, occasionally a joke will just occur to me, but a lot of times if I get angry about something, or if I get upset by something, or I think that's just lame and needs to be called out, then I have to take one step back and do the work of figuring out the best way to pull the rug out from under it, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
So what sort of things upset you the most?
I guess the thing that sticks in my craw the most is language. Most of the people in my family are teachers, so the misuse of language in our culture is, the easiest example is that I don't smoke, but I'm not a non-smoker. Because I don't believe in labeling myself based on stuff I don't do.
Right.
Because how many nons are you in your life? That's an awfully long list. Am I a non-pterodactyl?
I'm going to have to start thinking about that.
Exactly. Am I a non-black? Am I non-tall? Am I non-wing-bearing? It's absurd. So that's just a BS word made up by smokers to make the rest of the world feel like they're dumb. And I'm not buying it. And I don't want to be mean to smokers your last 10 years on Earth, but
that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Okay. You had a chance. I'm looking at some of the stuff, as Rick said, go through your IMDb list and stuff. I like this. Your feature debut is in the cult classic Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town.
It's true. Which, for the record, I would like to clear something up. When I took that movie, when I got that role, it was originally a movie called Chrome Hearts, and it was supposed to be a spoof of 60s biker chick films and 60s zombie films, and they were going to fuse the two genres into kind of a spoof comedy, or whatever. And then, unfortunately, the director, when confronted with the 9 women that he had cast as his biker chicks, sort of collapsed inward and became kind of a jellyfish-like man going, whatever you ladies want to do is fine with me.
Okay.
And it kind of went very trauma from that direction. But I was in that with Martha Quinn from MTV and Billy Bob Thornton's, basically his feature debut.
Right.
Which apparently, legend has it, is the movie where he was sitting in the makeup chair looking in the mirror as they were putting on makeup going, I have to do Sling Blade or I'm going to be doing this crap for the rest of my life.
That worked for him.
It did. It worked for me too. I was like,
what were you thinking?
I got to hit the road again. Movies are not the way, my friend.
Well, when you're in something like that and you see it change direction,
yeah,
what do you go through as an actor? Like, are you thinking like...
Well, you're like, originally the script is very funny, and then you're like, this is not going to be good at all. They ran out of money at one point, and they had somebody in the town cooking food for us instead of craft services, so we ate this, like, gruely soup every week. And I remember very distinctly going, well, everybody's got to pay their dues. I guess I can check this off the list, you know?
So did you think you were done after that?
Pretty much, and I kind of was, in all honesty. I mean, I had some more work to do. I had, 8 years of kind of struggle after that, but nothing was as weird and as disturbing as that,
When you looked at something like that, obviously some uncomfortable times with it, wondering what's going on. Have you done anything that you felt uncomfortable with in your career?
Well, I mean, gosh, I mean, sure. I mean, that's kind of the point, is that you got to be pushing yourself, over your own comfort zones. I mean, I've said things doing, in my stand-up career years ago that I wouldn't say now because my attitudes have changed. And I look back on that joke and I'm like, if I was me sitting in the audience of that, I would heckle myself now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that's what the growth of it,
How do you handle a heckler?
You don't really
ignore them?
Honest to God, there aren't any hecklers anymore.
It's not like it used to be? Okay.
Hecklers were a very distinct group. Most people don't know the history of hecklers. They used to be the local comics in a city, and I know because I used to be one. When the national act dude would come through, the local comics would sit in the back and go, boo, you're crap, you're not funny, here's why. And they would be, they would riff and cut him down with jokes.
So was that part of the routine then, or was
sort of? It was their way of, as a local, going, I'm funnier than this dude. That kind of died, and now the closest thing you get to a heckler these days is, just kind of drunk, monosyllabic or non-syllabic noises.
Right, and that's when you bring out your English dictionary and start telling them you're saying everything wrong.
Exactly. And then, most of the time they don't, and they mean well now. They're like, God willing, they probably are just going, you're awesome, but that no words are actually being formed.
Fair enough.
So it's not really where you can jump down somebody's throat with,
Easier
both
to
feet.
just ignore them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? People can show up at your show. You're going to be performing at the Comic Strip tonight, tomorrow night, Saturday, and Sunday as well. Of course, the Comic Strip at Bourbon Street, West Edmonton Mall. You can find out more about it by going to our website, citytv.com. We've been chatting with Hal Sparks. A real treat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
All right.
Absolutely.
We're going to check in with Ryan right now. Ryan, what's up?
Thanks very much, Rob. What a great interview.